This episode is brought to you by the Old Dominion Athletic Foundation. Because of you, we create winners in the classroom, in athletic competition, and in life. Become a member today.
Monarch Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. We are blessed to be welcomed by an ODU women's basketball legend, Clarisse Machanguana. How are you doing today, Clarisse?
I am well. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with everyone here today. Thank you.
All right, so let's start from the beginning. Growing up in Mozambique, I'm not sure of the popularity of basketball at that time, but how did you get started playing basketball?
Also, basketball is very popular, but I had a uncle that played, and he was in the national team. So all his nephews started to imitate him. Even though I grew up in a climate where girls were not encouraged to play, my family in particular didn't impede me of doing so. But most of women were encouraged to learn house chores, to learn to become a proper woman. So in a way, I was very lucky that I played basketball, and it led me to where I turned out to experience life. But yes, it was a lot of fun to be able to play a sport that, in a way, strengthened my self-esteem because I was tall, too tall for people's liking or understanding. And the basketball court gave me the feeling of belonging somewhere, and started to dream beyond the poverty that surrounded me in Mozambique.
So you mentioned a couple of the challenges there. You got poverty, but you also have the desire for women to be homemakers instead of athletes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
talk to us a little bit more about how you break through to those challenges to become the star that you were.
Thank you. I don't know about a star, but yes, it just, it was a way out of Africa that I never would have thought. So I started to play basketball when I was 6 years old, unaware that it would become my lottery ticket for a better life. I also started playing basketball just 4 years into civil war in Mozambique, and basketball became almost like a refugee to all the uncertainty that was going on in my country. It seemed like overnight, food, medicine, teachers, doctors, everything was scarce, even personal freedom. So basketball became the place where I felt comfortable, where I made friends, and was allowed to distract myself from everything else. But I was also living in a country where cultural practices encourage women to stay at home, encourage women that is not so important to go to university, and therefore you have to learn to what you will become when you get married. You have to learn how to serve a man. You have to learn everything a woman is to do when they have their own family. So I was fortunate that my parents did not force me to that path. They had high school degree, and they valued me staying in school, but that was not the case for so many. That's why when I did get to play basketball internationally, I knew I had to be the voice for many other girls who were stuck on that struggle of not having agency over their own lives. Really, I knew when I finished basketball that I had a bigger purpose for myself, which was the creation of a foundation that bring awareness to some of the atrocities that young girls face in Mozambique, such as forced marriage, which starts at the age of 11.
Wow, it's
An
for
atrocity.
me, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. That is the reason why, despite so many challenges of running a non-profit organization in Africa, I continue to do it because I know that no 11 years old girl should be forced to that. I know they need a voice in me that I have had better luck to highlight that challenge and to try to bring changes to liberate them from that cycle of life that entraps many of them into poverty. Because what happens is that when they marry as early as 11. They become mothers while children themselves, school dropouts, and often they become HIV positive. So, whilst I wanted them to play basketball and have the life that I had, what is most important now is to use basketball to mobilize them and teach the value of their body, teach them self esteem, and just an understanding that while the parents mean well and love them, some of the cultural practice that they are doing are very harmful for their future. Yeah, so that is the reason for my foundation and for the work that I continue to do. And I don't want for many girls to continue to be a lottery ticket that it was for me. I am the exception amongst many, but with that I carry the responsibility and even the privilege of showing them a different window, a different outlook in life that would bring dignity for them. Yeah,
Yeah, understanding you have different paths to get to a new life is always important.
yeah,
And it's beautiful that you're sharing that with others. I know at a young age you left Mozambique to go to Portugal.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Talk to us about your experience in Portugal and kind of how it changed you as a person.
Yeah, so I left Portugal. I left Mozambique when I was 17 and went to join a team where Ticha Penicheiro, my former teammate and currently my sister for life, was playing at. And Portugal was very interesting because it was the country that had colonized, which meant we spoke the same language. Culturally, I thought we would be more alike, but we weren't. And I faced two things: was the winter. Mozambique does not have winter, and living for the first time far away from my parents and people that I knew. So I was fortunate that at the time I was placed at Tisha's apartment and two other Portuguese people, and it was an adjustment in terms of weather, in terms of quality of schools, where in Mozambique, despite my love for my country, the education system is very behind, and in a way prepared me for the US life, which is a higher and more demanding school requirements that got me prepared for it. Also, basketball wise, it was experience a more demanding from coaches than Mozambique, where it was 3 times a week. Sometimes when it didn't go, there were no repercussions. It was still very, basic dedication. We would go because of the love of it, but not because there's someone telling us, "Hey, come on, don't miss practice." So Portugal was a good step stone for a what then became my life at Old Dominion and professionally. And I was very lucky because I left Mozambique because my then coach heard of a team in Portugal that was looking for a tall foreigner that understood the language and the culture. And there I arrived. And then while in Portugal in the second year, Alison Green, which was the recruiting person at Old Dominion, went to Portugal looking for Ticha because years before she had played against Ticha, which she must have been 14, 15, and she thought she would come later when there was the age of college to see if she was still good player. So when she came, I was in that team and they asked me if I wanted to go to Old Dominion. So Portugal really was a good channel into getting more mature, getting more sense of what it is to live outside of Africa, and reevaluating the law for the sport because it was no longer, it was still optional, but you knew there were consequences if you chose not to, which is the apartments were paid because you played. School was something that was provided because you played for that team. So it was just growing up process. Yeah.
So you talked about that cultural and athletic transition. You get it again when you come to Old Dominion. So What was the biggest adjustment you had to make when you came to Norfolk?
Oh my God. Norfolk was very hard. I mean, the first year, first of all, I thought I spoke better English than I did when I first arrived. I could barely say a sentence. And we had, I think it was ACTs. I can't remember the names of the tests. I could not pass to save my life. It was a true struggle. So they found us tutors to improve our English. And as you know, if you don't go to school, you're not eligible to play. And practices was just for me at the time. I felt was like a military regiment. It was way too many hours. I had never lifted weights before, and that was in itself a process. And after practicing for 2 hours and a half, because my English was so bad, I had to have what is called study hall. So it was a boot camp that I did not expect it. I only thought of the fun things that I had seen about US, big cars, nice houses, and the best clothes. And it was the gym, the apartment, and the school. The gym, apartment, and school. So culturally also, so many differences. The food, the behavior. I will give you a silly example. When I first arrived to US and people would say, "Hi, what's your name? My name is da 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 da." I would want to give those people two kisses in the cheeks because that is exactly what we do in Mozambique and parts of Europe. And people were weirded out. It's just like, "Yo, what are you doing? I don't even know." So, and then I learned, like, you shake hand, and the closer you are to people, you can give hugs. But even the hugs, compared to the hugs we give in my country, is almost like hugs of shoulders and not the entire body. So those are little things that you can take it for granted, but can get people either closer or looking at you like you are silly. Another shock that I had when school ended, I didn't realize that I needed to think financially in the way to get back home. Not only that, we were not allowed to work because our visas are student visas. You're not allowed to work. So needing to go back home and not having money was the first big challenges of, wow, I'm really an adult now. I have to think for myself, which meant, washing people's cars, cutting grass, just little jobs that are not significant enough for the immigration department to be mad at you. But still, for me, it was the most humbling experience because those were not jobs that I did at home. I was not rich, but for my parents, it was all about school. But also, despite the initial struggles, at the end of the year, I was the best player. I was on the news, I was on newspapers, I was on magazines. And for me, it was humbling because people would see me scoring points and looking like a star, but then I had the jobs that said, "Hey, you cannot get so big that it don't go low." So it kept my foot on the ground and realizing that we are not what we have. We are not what we do. We are individual people that have to continually to improve ourselves and stay respectful and humble towards anyone that surrounds us. It was the most important lesson at that time.
It does sound very humbling. Luckily, times have changed, and for foreign players now, the schools can assist with travel and other things like that. So
Amazing. Yeah. And other
obviously,
financial deals that we didn't have.
yeah. All right. So at Old Dominion, you were a dominant force, averaging 18 points per game, shooting over 62% from the field. You earned CAA Player of the Year, All American honors, and you helped lead us to one of our best seasons ever, 34-2, along with your friend Ticha. Looking back, what lessons kind of helped shape you as a leader and a competitor to help fuel those successful years at Old Dominion?
I think like probably what most athletes would also respond is that you learn in the process of going for a collective objective to be disciplined, to be focused, to be determined, to be aware of your teammates' needs, your responsibility in a loss and in a win. All of those things that are fundamental values that also transcend beyond the basketball court to real life. You become more aware of what you seed and what you're going to be able to collect in the future. So it were leadership skills that I was not as conscious as I was doing it. I was part of a team that had a collective goal, but that with time I appreciated all that it made me and all the sacrifices it required for me to become that, which today allow me to go back to the reality in Africa and face the mountain Everest like challenges, um, and still move forward and still understand that despite being a national challenge, small changes must be made in order for those girls to have a life with dignity. So, yes, it was a school, not just academic school, but also human school, the process of being at Old Dominion and have to balance academics and sports and language and culture. I would not change that process, and I would recommend to younger boys and girls to join sports because of what it offers you. Is not just the the academic degree. It's a life like no other. Yeah.
So you got the chance to play for Coach Wendy Larry.
Mhm.
What was it like playing for Wendy, and looking back, how that experience was over time? Do you look back at it differently?
Yes, I look at it differently, most definitely, because in my first year, there was nothing I really loved about that process. I thought it was military service, the kind of physical demand that I was not ready. And I felt that scholarship, it sounded free when you think about it because you don't pay, but I felt like you paid with your body. You paid with the number of hours in practice, the number of demands the coach had. So I was not very fond of her or of the entire coaching staff, but I'm so happy that I stuck with it and that I was with time able to appreciate what it produced in me as a athlete and as a human being. Wendy is and was a very demanding person, demanding coach. It was a system of no self pity, and a lot was done for us to walk conscious of how our actions affected the teammate and the end result. And a lot was asked of us because of what a scholarship meant, of what being an athlete meant, of what unique that meant for how special that was.
All right. So you
Yeah.
have this beautiful relationship with Tisha that started when you were 17. Talk to us about how that relationship has gone on through the years and how it's kind of adapted.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate that I met Ticha in Portugal, where it was the first time I was living so far away from my parents, and I could rely on her friendship and others in our team to adjust to the new life. And also, Tisha, when we first came to Old Dominion, she spoke English more eloquently than I did. So, for a brief period, she was my support in that sense, even though the coaches right away would put us in different corners of the basketball practice because they felt I was not making enough efforts to learn, just relying on her. That friendship has remained. We might be going now on 30 years of friendship. In that friendship, also Mary Andrade is still part of my life. We talk once a week via WhatsApp video or text or message. Those are sisters for life that I've kept, that I make sure that I'm aware of the whereabouts and availability to whatever we might need for support. For example, recently there was a natural disaster in Mozambique, and they were the first people to call me to try to find out if I was okay. But I also speak with other people from that team, and I'm very happy to say that the Old Dominion family is still present, supportive, and strongly available to myself, and I'm sure to any other basketball player that went through that school. It's amazing feeling.
That's awesome. So after Old Dominion, you get drafted in the WNBA by the Los Angeles Sparks, and you have an amazing career that spans until you're 40 years old.
Yeah.
Um, Looking back, how do you look back at that time of your life and those challenges?
And the challenges?
Yeah, because I mean, professional basketball is, I mean, it is a challenge in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. It is a challenge. Definitely. It is a challenge that the earlier you face, you learn that it will not kill you. You learn to find ways to not only survive, to guide them in a way that benefits you and the goals that you have and the people involved in it. I went to a lot of roller coasters after Old Dominion, where I was one of the most prominent players and faced professional world where other talents made mine not so relevant or into questions. So every single season, I had to prove myself. Not only that, the financial compensation was not good enough to live off of it. So I was then forced, just like some women's NBA still face today. So in that process, I played 2 seasons in Italy, 2 seasons in Portugal, 2 seasons in France, two in Spain, one in Brazil, one in South Korea, and the last 9 in Italy. So life took me everywhere. I was able to make myself a culturally wealthy, in that I speak so many other languages. I was able to learn to insert myself in places that I never thought I would be welcome or able to go. So when I look back, I realize what a wonderful life basketball brought me. I realized how unique that was, and what a crime it would be not to share the skills that that process gave me, mostly in Africa, where I can add more value than if I had chosen to stay any other country. So I take that seriously, and also has a privilege to be able to share that experience with young girls who are not as fortunate as I have been, you know.
So let's talk about your foundation. I guess you've talked about it in this episode of how it's you want to give girls another path. and show
Yeah,
them the way. When you started the foundation, what was the first things that you kind of started to do with these girls to kind of show them that way?
yeah. So my first thought when I was nearing the end of my career, which was at the age of 40, I remember when I was young, I was just like, "You're never gonna get me. I'm never gonna get caught dead or alive playing past 25." And then I played until I was 40. So I knew I didn't have the DNA to be a basketball coach, but I wanted to remain in a position to support boys and girls. And I thought that my life in the US would allow me to engage with universities that would be interested in having the talent in Africa that I know we have. But when I returned home, I realized that the HIV was very strong. I learned that 46% of Mozambican girls are HIV positive before the age of 18. So I needed to learn as much as I could as to how do I try to change this situation or bring awareness to them and to the world of the need of creating an urgent change. So the Clarisse Machanguana Foundation, which is what I then created, it's a way to create a safe space for girls so that we can teach them values that can prevent them for school abandonment, early pregnancy, early marriage, and ultimately HIV. It is it is my way to give back to the world, essentially the African world, what basketball enriched me with academically and culturally and sport wise. Yeah.
So this philanthropy work that you've done, it's very impressive. It leads to you working with UNICEF as a Goodwill ambassador
Mhm.
for Mozambique from 2016 to 2018.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Talk to us about your experience working for Mozambique with UNICEF.
Yes, I mean it is a privilege, it is an honor. It means that in your heart you are in a mission to create the well-being of young boys and girls. It means that you can also be an inspiration to boys and girls as to what you could do for your life despite the poverty and cultural practices that handicap your life. So, being an ambassador, UNICEF Goodwill ambassador, as you know, you're not paid to do that. There's no fund related to that. But what it tells to my Mozambican fellow folks is that you can do good despite your own struggles. You can create a safer place for others despite that you also face those challenges. You can find ways to improve your life despite that there's a mountain Everest right in front of you. So it works in a way that potentially brings a new window for boys and girls to look at it and believe in themselves, not just focusing on the struggles that they see many face. So it was a very good experience. I chose not to continue because one of the things that is very difficult when we are UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador is that they cannot provide funds for your own organization. And for me, it was more important to get the funds to run the programs as opposed to just being a Goodwill Ambassador. It's an honorable thing, but I needed to continue my work in a way that maximizes our mission. Yeah.
All right, so going back to your charity work with your foundation,
Mhm.
you've have been able to establish some really cool collaborations with like the Junior NBA and NBA Africa. Talk to us about how those collaborations came together, and how you've how they've kind of transformed over the years.
Yeah. So um NBA Africa is an extension of the NBA that believes into expanding the practice of basketball, and they are in a lot of continents, a lot of countries in the world. So I was proposed this partnership because I am what I've done in Mozambique with basketball. There's a lot of youth that loves basketball, and in a way, for me, it was a way to mobilize youth through sports and bring awareness of some of the challenges that they need to face if sports is a dream that they take it seriously and want to go beyond what Mozambique offers. So that is an important partnership that we've had for a few years. We annually engaged around 5,000 to 8,000 youth. We've had one girl through that program that won a scholarship and studied in New York. We have another kid that is in Colorado at the junior college, another one that is in Italy playing basketball there. So it's not great numbers, but it shows that there is talent out there, that we work very hard for our kids. And it's important for me to say that while basketball is important for me, at our foundation, basketball is the entry point and not the destination. The destination for us is to pair basketball with education, leadership skills, HIV awareness programs that are very relevant. For our youth. So that is what is important for us.
So you talked about when you were a child how things were viewed and how women were treated. Have you seen a change over those decades since on how people should view women in sport and other things in the Mozambique culture?
The change, the change is not yet significant to a point that is needed to be. As I said, 46% of girls are HIV before the age of 18. Only 1% make it to college. So there's a lot of work, which is what my foundation is trying to do, that needs to be done. There's a lot of partnerships that need to be held in order for this to be a work of a village rather than just Clarisse Machanguana Foundation. And I will continue to bring awareness mostly in the sports world because I believe in the power of sports to change and improve a human being's life. And that is my drive, that is my mission. Sadly, in Mozambique, girls are not at the point where they should be to be professionally independent and autonomous. There's a lot of work to do. That's why I feel like I am the exception amongst many that struggle, and it's important to be a voice that brings hope to those girls that it is possible for them to also be academically successful and to live above the cultural challenges that many of them as Africans face.
So you talk about challenges that face the people of Africa. Recently, Mozambique was hit with some catastrophic flooding.
Mhm.
Talk to us about what life has been like day to day to deal with that kind
Yeah,
of disaster.
yeah. It is one of those things that you never think would happen to you. You never imagine it possible, and even when you see on TV happening to other people, you can never put your shoes. You can never put yourself in their shoes. It happened to me 15 days ago. Water that arrived to my chest, and I am about 6'3", 6'4", and so you can imagine the level of the water. My car was underneath. I mean, I've lost everything. I have not been able to think properly of how I am going to restart. I feel very blessed to be alive. Hundreds of people died. I feel blessed to have the family that I have, where I am now staying with them at their home without the pressure to have to leave tomorrow, the day after. I am needing a plan of what to do next because I have no home. I must say that the Old Dominion basketball ladies have pinched in supporting me with some donations. I continue to ask those who can to do so, but it is a terrible loss. I am fortunate that I have the likes of ODU people that will feel it in their heart that they can help me, but the communities around me don't have so much fortune. So it also elevates the importance of continuing to do my work, because now we'll be working with girls that not only struggle culturally, pressed to be women while still children, but now most of them don't have a safe home to be in. So it is a hard beginning of the 2026. I'm sure I must rely on my basketball experience to continue to be resilient, to continue to be hopeful, and have even more faith. But should anyone in Norfolk, Old Dominion, feel that they can support my condition at the moment, I will be very grateful. Yeah,
So you heard it, Monarchs. Clarisse is doing amazing work in Mozambique, but she needs your help to get back on her feet so she can support the others in Mozambique to the best of her ability. We'll provide a link below this video. Please check it out, and if you are able, support Clarisse in rebuilding her life so she can get back to the important work of her foundation.
Thank you. Thank
Clarisse,
you.
thank you so much for joining us today. Do you have an outgoing message for Old Dominion fans and your former teammates and anyone who might be watching?
The message is thank you so much for listening. Please continue to support Old Dominion. It's a beautiful school, it's a beautiful system. I'm sure they're going through challenging times, but who isn't going through challenging times? There's a great need of your presence, of your support, of encouragement, and that's a beautiful family to be part of it. We are not only family when things are beautiful. We are definitely a better family when we can rely on each other to move along this beautiful life. It's amazing to be alive. It's amazing to have another day where we can improve ourselves and be better human beings. So I'm grateful to you, Monarchs. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I would love to see everybody sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Clarisse. We want to help as much as we can. So, again, check out the link, everybody. Thank you again, Clarisse.
Thank you.
We're wishing you nothing but the best moving forward, and
thank you.
So you can continue doing the great work that you've been doing for a long time now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Be well, everybody.
Right.
Keep safe.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.